So can I ask you some questions? Can I ask you some questions? Yes. So all of you try to answer. Okay. Okay, I'm not asking you questions, but we are just discussing the previous part, what we studied in the last class. Okay, very good. So tell me, when the boy and his grandfather reached in the pond, they could see a thing. They could see someone. Who was that? Yes, they could see a little frog. They could see the head of a small frog on the surface of the water. Okay, then what happened? And the boy observed. He started to observe the pond well. Then they could see many tadpoles in that pond. Then what happened? He took, yes, very good. You all are saying the answers. Yes, then he took some frogs, some small frogs, little frogs. He caught some frogs from that pond and he put the frogs in a jar. Put the frogs in a jar or a bottle, and he kept it. He brought the jar into the home and he kept it on the windowsill of his home. Right? Do you remember that? Yes. Then what happened? Then what happened? Yes, it was night. Okay, in the night, each and everyone heard a sound, a big noise, and everyone afraid, they ran out. Right? That time, his grandmother found the bottle. She saw the frogs in that bottle. She became very much angry and she was about to throw it away. She was about to throw the bottle away. That time, grandfather came and he stopped her. Okay. Then what happened? Then what happened in the next day? In the next day, yes, say, all of you say. Yes, in the next day, there was an ant. He has an auntie. Okay. His aunt was eager to know what is inside in the pond, in the jar. She was curious to know what is inside of this bottle. So what she did? She took the jar, or she took the bottle and she opened it. She opened the bottle. When seeing this frogs in that bottle, she became afraid. She became scared and she ran without replacing the cover, without replacing the top of the bottle. Then what happened? All the frogs came out. Okay, all the frogs jumped out and that went to the garden. Okay, so my dear children, now we move on to the next part. All of you take page number 18. Page number 19. All of you take page number 19. Okay children, I hope you got page number 19. I'm going to read and explain the story. While I explain the story, you please go through the lines. Okay, very good. But I soon got into the habit of visiting the pond all alone. I would take off my shoes, I would wade into the muddy water up to my knees to pluck the water lilies. So the boy is saying that visiting the pond became a habit for him. So he became familiar with that pond and he used to go there often. Okay, often, sometimes he would visit the pond. It became a habit, and when he reached in the pond, he would take off his shoes, means he would remove his shoes and everything, and he would wade through the water. What do you mean by the word wade? Wade. So you please imagine you are walking through the water. You are walking through the water. You please imagine. How would be that? Will it be easy to walk through the water? No. There are some difficulties. right? It is difficult to walk through the water or mud. So wade means to walk with an effort through something, especially water or mud. Then he would wade through the water and he would go there and he would pluck some water lilies. We know that there will be some water lilies in the pond. So he would go and pluck it. Then one day when I arrived at the pond, I saw it was full of buffaloes. Their owner was a boy a little older than me. He was swimming in the pond. So one day what happened, as usual, he went to the pond. He went to observe the pond, and when he reached in the pond, he saw many buffaloes in the water. He saw many buffaloes in the water, and their owner was a boy a little older than me. And he saw one more thing, that there was a boy who was swimming in the pond. The boy was little older than Ruskin pond. Little older than the other. He was swimming in the middle of the pond. Okay. So that boy was the owner of that buffaloes. Whose buffaloes was there? It was that boy's buffaloes. Okay. He saw me staring at him and smiled. He asked me to join him for a swim. I told him I could not swim and he offered to teach me. I removed my shirt and shorts, followed his instructions. The boy's name was Ramu. He promised to give me swimming lessons every afternoon. Then what happened? He saw me staring at him and smiled. That time he saw a boy was swimming in that pond. He stared at him. Stared at him means look. Ruskin Bond, this little boy stared or looked at that boy. That time, that boy smiled. That boy smiled. And he asked me to join him for swim. He said that he told him to come. He told him to come to the pond for swimming. And I told him I could not swim. So Ruskin Bond, he was not able to swim. He didn't know how to swim. So he said that I won't come to the pond because I don't know how to swim. I don't know swimming. He said that. That time that boy said, don't worry, I will teach you swimming. You please come. Okay. Who said that? The other boy said to Ruskin Pond. Then that time I removed my shirt. I removed my clothes and I followed his instructions. Means that another boy was giving him some instructions about how to swim. So Ruskin Bond followed. He obeyed all the instructions which was given by the boy. Then the boy's name was Ramu. So what was the name of that another boy? Of that boy? Yes, it was Ramu. Ramu was the owner of that buffaloes. Okay. Then he promised to give me swimming lessons every afternoon. So Ramu did one more thing, that he told to Ruskin Bond that I would teach you how to swim. You please come every afternoon to the pond and I would give you the lessons how to swim. I would teach you how to swim. Who told that? The other boy said to this Ruskin Bond. Okay. Understood? Very good. So before long, I was able to swim across the pond. Ramu did not go to school, but he knew a great deal about birds and animals. Then he says that Ruskin Bond learned swimming. He learned to swim across the pond. He learned swimming across the pond. But when we say about this boy, Ramu, he didn't go to school. He was a little boy like Ruskin Bond, but he didn't go to school. But this boy he knew everything about birds and animals. He was fond with birds and animals. He has a fond. He liked birds and animals, so he knew everything about birds and animals, but he didn't go to school. I like the buffaloes too. Sometimes we tried raising them, sitting on their back, but they were lazy animals. If they were in no mood for a race, they would roll over in the water and throw us into the mud. When I was muddy, I would slip into the house through the back door to avoid grandmother. I would hurriedly bath under a tap and change into clean clothes. So he says that he started to like buffaloes also. By visiting the pond with Ramu, he started to like the buffaloes also. Then often they tried racing on them. So often they tried some games like racing, buffalo racing. Okay, so what will happen, you know? But he says that these buffaloes were lazy animals. They were lazy, they were not at all good, they were lazy animals. So when the buffaloes were not in the good mood for the race, what would happen? That they would roll over the water, and they would throw them into the water. Sometimes the buffaloes were not ready for that, ready for the race. So that times they would roll over the water and they would throw them into the water or into the mud. We know that in the pond there will be a lot of mud. Okay. So when I was muddy, I would slip into the house through the back door to avoid grandmother. So I know that as that days, most of the days when he got some muddy on his dress, what he would do, he would slip into the house through the back door. He didn't go to the home through the front door. He would go through the back door. He would get inside through the back door of the house. And why he did so, why the boy did so? Because he was afraid of the grandmother. We know that grandmother was she was a very angry woman. Okay, she was very strict. So the boy did like that. And I would hurriedly bath under the tap and change into clean clothes. So these days, what the boy do, he would slip into the house through the back door, not to the front door. He would go through the back door and he would get inside of the house, and he would rush for taking the bath under the tap, and he would clean his dress and everything. Okay, because if grandmother found him in his dirty dress, what would happen? She would punish him. Okay, so this boy did like that to avoid punishment from his grandmother.